Alright, so Donnie Darko. If you've watched it, you know it's one of those movies that refuses to be pinned down. It's less of a film and more like a psychological labyrinth, twisting your mind in ways that go beyond just the plot. It's a deep dive into the human psyche, mental illness, time, fate, and the film leaves you wondering, what is real? But let's not just talk about the movie. Let's talk about how Donnie Darko relates to us, how it explores the darkest corners of the mind, and why that makes it such a compelling psychological case study. So, Donnie's been living in this state of constant isolation, right? Not really sitting in at school, his mind constantly working overtime, pulling him in all these weird directions. He's caught between this dark, chaotic version of reality that only he seems to experience, and then this sterile, normal world that everyone else is living in. And honestly, when you look at it from a psychological standpoint, this duality speaks to something very real, the breakdown of the self. There's a sense of split identity in Donnie, and that's not just a metaphor for a teenager's angst. It's a representation of someone on the edge of a psychological breakdown, trying to hold it together by living in two separate worlds. We've all felt that at some point, that disconnection from reality. Some of us might call it dissociation, that feeling of being separate from your body, like you're watching yourself from the outside. In psychology, this is actually a coping mechanism. It's your mind's way of protecting itself when it can't handle the stress of what's going on. And that's exactly what Donnie's living through. Then, there's the therapy session. Dr. Thurman, the psychiatrist, keeps telling Donnie that his experiences are all just symptoms of schizophrenia. It's the classic, you're just imagining things diagnosis. But honestly, what's fascinating is how the movie almost dares you to ask if that's really the case. You see, psychology offers a pretty straightforward explanation for things like paranoia, hallucinations, and delusions, the signs of schizophrenia. But what if the world we live in, the reality we take for granted, is actually just as fragile as Donnie's mind? What if Donnie's visions aren't just the product of his illness, but an expression of a deeper, more universal truth, that our perception of reality is, in fact, built on shaky ground? This makes you think of writers like Philip K. Dick, who wrote Ubik and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Dick's whole career was about questioning what is real and what isn't, often through characters who are experiencing intense psychological breakdowns or altered states of mind. Donnie Darko kind of operates on that same wavelength. Donnie's visions, the jet engine, the creepy bunny, feel real. They mess with your head, making you wonder if the lines between what's imaginary and what's tangible are even possible to draw. Now let's pivot for a second. Take a look at the concept of time and fate here. Donnie Darko isn't just a movie about a kid losing his mind. It's about time itself being fragile, twisted, and bent into different dimensions. The film plays with time travel as both a literal and metaphorical device. Psychologically speaking, time manipulation can represent the human need to control the uncontrollable. Think of the butterfly effect. That small actions ripple out into chaotic consequences, much like how Donnie tries to correct things in his life that he can't fix. There's this heavy existential theme here, one that reminds you of the concept of fatalism. The idea that the future is already written, that we can't escape our fate, has been explored in literature and philosophy forever. In a way, Donnie is the perfect embodiment of this. His every action seems doomed to eventually lead to his own death, and maybe that's the point. It's the psychological weight of knowing that no matter how hard you try, things are out of your control. We all have moments where we feel trapped in the cycle of inevitability. But Donnie doesn't just submit to this fate. He chooses it, and that's where the psychology gets fascinating. His decision isn't a breakdown, it's a form of control. It's his acceptance of his fate, a cognitive shift where he goes from resisting it to embracing it. And here's where the comparison to other mental breakdowns becomes interesting. In literature, characters like Hamlet, or even the protagonist in The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, go through a crisis of self. Their inner turmoil is so overwhelming that the only way to deal with it is through drastic action, death in many cases. The film's ending shows Donnie doing exactly that, choosing death, but it's not just a tragic ending. It's almost a release, a form of psychological freedom. It's like what some philosophers talk about when they discuss the existential crisis, the realization that the universe is chaotic, and there's nothing you can do to change that. The moment Donnie accepts that his death is inevitable, he finds a strange kind of peace in it. It's almost like a psychological reset for him. And maybe that's the point of the whole movie. How does one come to terms with a world that feels broken and impossible to understand? And when you think about it, the psychological struggle in Donnie Darko doesn't just exist in the movie, it's a reflection of something much larger. It's about how we, as individuals, handle the chaos of the universe. Every one of us experiences those moments when reality starts to slip away. We question what's real, what's not, what we can control, and what we can't. Donnie Darko explores that psychological space in such a raw way. It's not just his mind that's falling apart, it's the very fabric of reality itself. So, is Donnie Darko a film about a kid losing his mind? Yeah, maybe. But it's also a meditation on mental illness, fate, and the fragility of reality itself. The movie doesn't just want you to question Donnie, it wants you to question your reality. What happens when everything around you starts to break, and you don't have the answers? How do you keep it together when life refuses to make sense? Let me know what you think about Donnie Darko. Is it about a guy losing it, or is it about something bigger? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want more psychological dives into weird, existential movies, hit that like and subscribe. Catch you next time. Stay grounded, or don't.